now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, Kim, thanks very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where you, as always, can make calls here. Let's talk some sports at 412-575-2600. You can also tweet at KDPomp or at Jason Mackey. We're here talking what happened today and what happened over the weekend, beginning with the Pirates. Jason Mackey, who does an outstanding job. He did with the Pittsburgh Penguins covering them. He was in Vancouver and just got back tonight, and he's heading tomorrow to go to Houston, actually Tuesday, to see the Pirates, because that's what he does on a regular basis. And Jason, 2% chance the Pirates were given at the bottom of the ninth inning with all the analytics that they could never come back from a 3-run deficit against the closer, who was 26 for 26, and yet they got to Kirby Yates, and they won that game with 4 in the bottom of the 11th. They twice defied the odds. Your take on what happened today?
I love it, Bob. I absolutely do, and it's one of the reasons why I love baseball so much. And a 2% chance. I mean, that's what it was. Absolutely
Both
crazy.
times.
I know what you were talking about, and that's the one thing I'll say about the Pirates. Well, I'll say a lot of things about the Pirates if we want, but they're a resilient group. I've been impressed all season by their willingness and ability to not give up and stay in ball games. And what did they have, 4 pinch hits today?
Yes.
I mean, that is incredible. Their pinch hitters are nudging their way. They might have even got there toward 400. They do very well late in games, and they're not the most talented club, but I give them a lot of credit for their willingness to not go down and not get distracted and deterred.
Right, and one of the things we'll talk about tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, and Jason's part of that show, is whether the Pirates are to be believed. And what I'm talking about is a contender. They're going to have to address this question at some point if they continue to hang around. So, Jason, last year we saw Neil Huntington decided, hey, the time is right. The team had, I remember the sweep over the Milwaukee Brewers, 5-game sweep. He believed that they needed help. He went out and got it, at least he thought, and it didn't work out with Chris Archer. What happens this year if it's in the same situation? If they're close, I mean, he could have gotten Keuchel. He chose not to. What do you do at that point?
I would have to imagine that they would pump the brakes on it. If you haven't gone after Dallas Keuchel, yeah, and I mean, I'm just using clues here, Bob, and I mean, if they haven't gone after Dallas Keuchel yet for $13 million for the rest of the year, a prorated version of that, I don't see how they would do it. I don't want to say they've been scared off by Chris Archer, but I think they're kind of aware. It happened last year with giving out Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow, and you don't want to do that again. And then you also probably couldn't do that again. I mean, who are the lucrative prospects at this point that people are going to be after? You're not going to trade Mitch Keller. I see them standing pat this year, even if they're within a couple games of it.
All right. As I mentioned, Jason, back from Vancouver, the Penguins had their draft. No major headlines, aside from some swapping of draft picks. I think most people were expecting something because Jim Rutherford said that he was looking for some change at some point.
Whoa, no, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I know. He tried to walk that one back.
Well, but they made one trade, Ole Mata for Dominic Cahoon, and you can understand why. They still need some salary cap relief if they are to be going into free agency at all, which starts July the 1st. What do they do? How do they do it, and how do they create cap space?
I mean, they can't do much at this point. They really can't. I mean, the Penguins would love to be able to create, $3-4 million, something like that, and maybe sign a veteran guy, a little bit of a different type. I would imagine that guy would probably be of the forward variety. Their defense is kind of crowded. Maybe you have Jack Johnson moving out, but I just don't see anybody who's going to take that contract. I mean, it's been out there for a little bit that the Penguins would probably listen on him, and at this point, 3.25 for a guy that age coming off that year, it's just not going to happen. So what can they realistically do? We're probably looking at it, unless you want to start having the conversation of like trading a Brian Rust or Nick Bukestad, and I'm not sure they get better if they do that.
But those are pieces that teams would want. We'll see what they do. There's still a long way to go before the start of training camp. We have a long way to go on the show here. Actually not. Time runs fast, so call 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We'll take those calls and tweets next right here on Pittsburgh CW. The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.